Okay, hello everybody. I'm back. I was just finishing up last class. In the last hour, we were doing some writing on the topic of discrimination. And so we had a lot of great writing samples, and people were giving us some very interesting things to read. If you're interested in taking a writing class, I scheduled some different writing classes for this week, so you can go to my teacher page on Verbling, and you'll be able to see all the classes that I'm offering. The writing class is a chance to practice getting a prompt, so you don't know anything that I'm going to talk about, and I give you a little introduction, and then I give you the questions, and we start writing. And so after you finish writing, I help correct it. So some people really like that. If you need to do writing in your businesses, in your job, or just for fun when you write to people like on email or Facebook or something like that. Okay, so it looks like we're already full, so I'm sorry that we got started a little bit late today because I was busy in the other class still. Today I have a reading selection. I actually have two different reading selections. They're going to be on today's topic, which is the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, which is today in the United States. It's always on the third Monday in January because Martin Luther King's birthday was January 15th in 1929. This is an important topic for Americans because it is part of our history as a country, as a people. Many of you probably are a little bit familiar, at least, with the history of the United States and the fact that when the Europeans were coming over here and taking new land in the colonies in Virginia and those places on the East Coast, of course there were already Native Americans here, but they displaced them, and at the same time those white European people brought over some slaves from Africa. And so the United States, unfortunately, does have a history of slavery for quite a while, for a couple of centuries. And then with the Civil War, maybe some of you have seen the new movie Lincoln. I have not seen it yet, but I know the history about the Civil War and then how slavery was declared illegal. And so since then, of course, people have been trying to work for equal rights, equal pay, equal treatment. And during the time that Martin Luther King Jr. was growing up, it was a time that black and white people were not equal, and they were separate. They were supposed to be separate but equal, but that was not really the case. And so as he grew up, he started fighting for change. He wanted to change those laws. They were known as Jim Crow laws, if anybody wants to look that up. Jim Crow laws, and they made it so that black people had to go to different restrooms than white people, and different restaurants and stores, and even the drinking fountains and things. So today we're going to read about that. I put the link up to a couple articles that I got off the internet. It's right there again. So if you're in the Google Hangout, you're going to have a chance to read parts of these articles out loud and also answer some questions about the article. If you are just watching, then you can also read along with us and listen to us reading along, and then you can answer the questions in the the Verbling chat, and that way you can participate if you'd like to participate in this class. Also, as I always tend to mention, sometimes people have to leave, drop out of class, or they lose their internet connection, so sometimes it's worthwhile to wait around for a little while to see if that happens if you want to get into the Google Hangout classroom. Okay, so let's get started. I am Lisa. I'm introducing myself now. I'm Lisa, and I'm one of the Verbling teachers. I live in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And I'm going to just ask each person to please just give me your name and tell us what country you're from. Some of you were in the last class, and some of you already know each other, but some people are also new to Verbling, so it's a good way to start the class just so we know each other a little bit. Okay, I'm going to start over here on my left. Ahmed, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Ahmed from Egypt, the second class for me.
Okay, wonderful. And Andre, you're here today. Welcome.
Yes, thanks. My name is André. I'm from Brazil.
Okay, wonderful. And Julissa, you're here.
Hello, Lisa. Hi, guys. I'm Julissa from Peru.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome. And Landit, you're back.
I'm Landit. I'm from Mexico.
And Maha, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
My name is Maha. I'm from Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And Manal, you're there.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
My name is Manal and I'm from Oman.
Okay. And Mine, are you there?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mine. I am from Turkey. I live in the USA, and that's it.
You're living in the USA?
Yes, I live in the USA now.
In where?
Vermont.
Oh, in Vermont. Okay. Are you studying there or what? Working?
I'm working.
Okay.
I'm working as a research assistant.
Oh, yes. Okay, I remember now. And Mustafa, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. My name is Mustafa from Egypt.
Okay, wonderful. And Zahara?
Yeah, my name is Zahra. I'm from Pakistan.
Okay. And Manal, I just muted you just because I was hearing some background noise. I don't know if it's the microphone or something like that. So
It's
if I...
not from mine.
It's not?
No. It's so quiet here.
Okay. Well, I will try to figure it out. Anyways, we're going to get started with the reading. Like I was talking about, it's about Dr. Martin Luther King, and today is a national or federal holiday in the United States, and that means that everybody's celebrating today by not going to work. If you work at a school or any kind of government agency or a bank, today is a holiday for you, and you do not have to go to work. So there's no school for the kids. All right, so let's start over here. I'm going to put the article in the screen share so everybody can see it. Looks like we have nearly 20 people watching this right now. So let's get started with, okay, Ahmed, do you want to read?
Yeah, no problem. I will start.
Okay.
Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., was born on January 15 in 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. At that time, in America, black people didn't have equal rights with white people. Black people had to sit in the back of buses, while the white people sat in the front. The schools were segregated
Segregated.
and there were even separate public schools for black people and white people, and even separate drinking fountains. Black people suffered a lot during this time period.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Let's just read it through one time first before we go back and talk about it. So, Andre, you want to read the next one?
Yes. Martin Luther King Jr. was a minister in the Baptist Church and a civil rights leader. He fought against racial segregation and discrimination. He wanted equal rights for all people. He used nonviolent protests to fight for equal rights. He asked the people to fight peacefully.
Peacefully, yes. Okay, wonderful. And Yulisa?
Yes. During the Montgomery bus boycott, he asked people to refuse to ride the buses. This tactic even worked, and eventually racial segregation on buses was declared illegal.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and read this other one too?
In 1963, more than 250,000 people went to Washington, D.C. to listen to him speak and demand that the government to change unfair laws. This is where he presented his famous I Have a Dream speech.
Yes. Okay, land it.
Yeah. Because of Martin Luther King Jr., many laws were changed in the United States. However, many white people disagreed with him and his ways and tried to discredit him. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by a white man. It was later confirmed that the assassination was a part of a conspiracy against him.
Okay. And the last paragraph will be
Okay. Every year on the third Monday of January, Americans remember Martin Luther King Jr. and all that he did to bring positive social change to all American people. Americans remember how much America has changed since the 1960s, and they think about how much more America should change in the future.
Okay, great. Okay, so that's the first part of the reading. These are the questions. So I'm going to read through the questions really quickly, and then I'm going to continue on with the people. We're going to reread the article. So this time while we're reading it, we want to be thinking about how we would answer these questions, okay? So first, I'm going to read these questions. Number one is, what is racial segregation? Number two, what was Martin Luther King Jr.'s job? Number three, how did he ask people to fight for their rights? 4, when was Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated? 5, when do Americans celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day? And number 6, do you think there is still racial discrimination in the U.S.? All right, so we're going to go back to the top, and we'll have Manal read the first paragraph again. This time thinking about how we might answer those questions, because after we finish reading, I'm going to ask you to answer those questions. Okay, Manal. Manal, are you there? Where'd she go? Okay, Mine, how about you go, and then if Manal comes back, she can read later.
Okay. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States. At that time in America, black people didn't have equal rights with white people. Black people had to sit in the back of the buses, while the white people sat in the front. The schools were segregated, and there were even separate public restrooms for black people and white people, and even separate drinking foundations. Black people suffered a lot during this time period.
Okay, good. And Manal, are you back with us yet? Okay. Zahar, I want you to read the next paragraph, please.
Martin Luther King Jr. was minister in the Baptist Church and civil rights leader. He fought against racial segregations and discrimination. He wanted to equal rights for all people. He used non-violent protest to fight for equal rights. He asked people to fight pacifically.
Peacefully.
Peacefully.
Yeah. Good. Okay, Manal, you're back. Why don't you read these next two paragraphs there? Manal? We can't hear you. Manal, we can't hear you. You're kind of coming in and coming out. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Okay, go now.
Okay. During the Montgomery bus, what?
Montgomery bus boycott.
Oh, okay. He asked people to refuse to ride the bus. This tactic worked and eventually
Racial
segregation on bus was declared illegal.
Yes.
In 1963, more than 250,000 people went to Washington, D.C. to listen to him speak and demand that he government change unfair laws. This is where he presented his famous "I Have a Dream"
speech. Yes, I have a dream speech. Okay, Martin, I just muted your mic because it was a little bit noisy, but if you want to read this next paragraph, if you can see it, then you can unmute your mic and read for us. Martin, do you want to do that?
Yes, of course. Hello.
Okay, hi.
Okay, hi. Okay, I continue.
Okay.
Because of Martin Luther King Jr., many laws were changed in the United States. However, many white people disagreed with him and his ways and tried to discredit him. In 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by a white man. It was later confirmed that the assassination was part of conspiracy against him.
Good. And Mustafa, you're back. Do you want to read the next paragraph? Whoops. The last paragraph there. Can you see it? The one that starts every year on the third Monday. Mustafa, do you see it?
Please, again, where? Every year?
Yes, every year on the third Monday. It's in the screen share. If you click on my video, you'll see it.
Okay. Every year on the third Monday of January, Americans remember Martin Luther King Jr. And all that he did, to bring positive social change to all American people. Americans remember how much America has changed since the 1960s, and they think about how much more America should change in the future.
Okay, in the future. Good. Okay, so let's go through these questions now and see if we can figure this out. What is racial segregation? So, Andre, do you understand the words racial segregation?
Yes.
What does it mean?
My opinion, when in a society prevents many people the enjoyment of their rights, which are given to the members of the society based on ethnicity or race of these people.
Okay.
For me, it's a racial segregation.
All right, Julissa, how about you? How do you understand racial segregation?
I understand that it's when people put some limits, or they do things in a separate way. So they put some limits between them.
Yes.
For example, some do things in some space and the others in different spaces they try to not to mix each other.
Yes. Yes, Andre, that was right. I'm just asking for. There's different ways to say it. Also, the word segregate itself is a verb, and it means to separate.
Okay.
So what Ulysses was saying, Landon, how do you understand the term racial segregation? Can you give an example of what that would look like?
Yeah, let me think. It's when you put people from different color in a certain part of the city, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and the other people are in another part from the city.
Yes. Yes. Maha, are you there?
Yes.
What does racial segregation look like in schools? Do you know what that might look like in schools?
In schools,
If they were segregating the different kids because of their race, what would that
yes,
mean?
the black people sit in the back of bus, and in the class they sit in the back, and the white people sit in front.
Yes. Good. Okay, great. Those are good examples of racial segregation. So, excuse me. Yeah, so they were, during the time period that Martin Luther King Jr. was growing up, the races, the people were segregated or separated. So segregation is another word for separation. So it just means keeping the different people separate. So this could also happen in different areas of the world based on other things like religion, for example. Certain people of certain religions have to live in one area and they can't live in another area. They keep them separate, for example. So that's what that means. Okay, who can tell me what Martin Luther King Jr.'s job was? What did he do for a job?
He was a minister of the Baptist Church.
Yes, okay, great. So I wrote on my description of this class that it can be used also as a practice for exams like the TOEFL. So one of the things you have to do on these types of exams is read something and then answer questions. And one of the things that's good to do is to go back into the reading, into the article, and find the answer. So Andre just told us that he was a minister in the Baptist Church, and this is where it gives us that answer right there. Martin Luther King Jr. was a minister in the Baptist Church. Zahara, what's a minister? Do you know what a minister is?
Yes, this is, it is job related to, government minister, like, uh, uh, the person who hold the country, something like that.
Yes, but if you're a minister of a church, what do you do?
Church, the whole religions, whole,
Yes.
so yeah, I thought wrong.
Kind of
Yeah.
a representative, I think.
Uh-huh. So Martin Luther King Jr. was a minister in the Baptist Church. This means he was the leader in his church. So every church in the United States, for example, you have the building. That's where you go to church. But then there's somebody is the minister, and they're the person who gives the lessons. So
they
if you
mean
go,
head.
yeah, the head of the church, or Landit wrote in the
a leader head.
Yeah. And Landit wrote a priest. So in the Catholic religion, which is the popular religion in Mexico, for example, you don't call them ministers, you call them priests. So it's the people who give the sermon. So the sermon is what they give on Sundays, the lecture or the reading or the lesson, they call it. Okay, so that's what he did as a job. He was a minister. So he was of the Baptist Church, which is a Christian church, and Baptist church churches are very popular in the south part of the United States. Okay. All right, let's see. What were those other questions here? What we got? Number 3. How did he ask people to fight for their rights? How did he ask people to fight?
To finish the racial segregation?
Yes, but how were they supposed to fight? Ahmed or Martin?
Peacefully. He asked people not to get buses.
Right. Okay. So one of the ways that he was telling them to fight was to do like a boycott, which means that you don't buy something or do it. Yeah. So the bus boycott was to not ride the buses. Yeah. But there's another part in the up here where he talks about how he wants people to fight. How does he want them to fight? See if you can reread that part. How is it that he wants it? Yes, very good. Peacefully. So.
Yes.
Okay, Hitchhiker's in the class now. Hitchhiker, are you there? Okay, you have an alien there. Okay, so is Hitchhiker?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi there. So. You're an alien? So what's another word for peacefully? Does anybody know another word that's popular that's in that same sentence or the sentence before that means peaceful?
Non-violent.
Exactly. Yes. Non-violent. And does anybody else know another person in history, another man who was famous for non-violent protests?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes, Gandhi. That's right. So Gandhi, and in fact, Martin Luther King Jr. visited India to see Gandhi and to learn about his ways of protesting non-violently. So that means without violence, without killing anybody or hurting anybody. Just they would do things like boycotts. They would do sit-ins where you might just go to a place and sit down and not move. Yada also is in the chat. She mentioned Nelson Mandela, who's South Africa. He's also a person who's famous for nonviolent protests. Okay, good. Let's see what the other question here was. When was Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated? So what year?
In 1968, he was assassinated by a white man.
That's right, 1968. So he was assassinated when he was only 39 years old. He wasn't even 40 years old yet.
So
and
young.
He was very young, yes. And he was assassinated. And Landit, you asked the question if there's a difference between assassinated and murdered. Basically, it's the same.
Okay.
Yeah. He was murdered. Murdered makes it sound a little bit more violent, and assassinated makes it seem a little more like it wasn't just a crime, but it was planned.
Okay.
And in fact, it was later found out that it was planned. Yeah, it was planned, and people in the United States government and in other places, and the mafia, they say, they were the ones that wanted him to be dead. Okay, so unfortunately, that does happen. All right, when do Americans celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day?
Every year.
Third Monday in January.
Yep. So every
third Monday of January.
Every third Monday of January. That's right. Every third Monday of January. So his birthday's on January 15th, but since that comes at a different day every year, it changes. They just decided to make his the holiday on the third Monday of January. So in the United States, probably as well as in other countries, sometimes we try to have the holidays on Mondays, so that makes it so that you have a 3-day weekend. So for example, people don't have to go to school today. They had Saturday, Sunday, and now Monday free. Okay, the last question here, which you can't really find in the reading, it's more like your own opinion. Do you think there is still racial discrimination in the U.S.? So, Zahara, do you know about the United States? Do you think that there's still some racial discrimination?
No, I don't have an idea because you know very well. But I heard still having a problem with with discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
People. I heard from some people they are having a problem with getting a job,
Mm-hmm.
or some for just getting a job. I
Yes.
heard because they are having a problem.
Okay. Yes. I think that that's probably correct. Mine, how about you? Have you heard about it? What do you think is happening in the United States?
Not this part when I live in New England. However, I believe the other south part they have a discrimination.
So you believe that in the South it continues?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Today, when I went to work, I listened to NPR radio, and one of the guy who was 75 years old, he was veteran, and he went to Washington D.C. to attend the inaugurations. And he told that this is very interesting event for him.
Yes.
He said, I never believe we have a black president, and the second term he won the election.
Yes.
This is the American guy, he told that is maybe, I believe, some place they have a still racial discrimination.
Yes. Yes. And after I finish asking everybody this question, we're going to have a second article that we're going to read, and it's about the fact that today is the day that President Obama is being inaugurated as president for the second time. And yes, and many people are happy that it's falling on the same day as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, because it's a reminder that of all the things that the black people, especially Martin Luther King Jr., were fighting for, and now, in fact, we do have a African-American president for the first time. And okay, so Martin, what do you think about it? You think there's still racial discrimination in America?
Yes, yeah, I think that there are still discrimination here. For example, for Chinese people, and also Latin people.
Yes. Where do you live, Martin?
I live in Argentina, near Buenos Aires.
Oh, okay. All right. And Maha, how about you? What do you think? What's your opinion?
I think there's no racial.
There's none?
Yes.
Okay. Landit, do you know if there is any?
Yeah, I think that it's against Latin people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's also a process. Like when black people, then the Irish, it's like a process. Then they accept them and they are okay.
Okay, so you're saying that every group of people, we call that group a minority population. So if there's the majority of the people are, say, white or Caucasian, and then there's a smaller group of people that are Latino or African American or Native American, and so everybody has their time when they
stop being discriminated.
Yes. Okay, Yulisa, how about you? What do you think about it? What do you know about it?
Well, I think that maybe there might be some cases, but the thing is that with discrimination, sometimes these cases are hidden.
Yes.
So how you can tell? But yes, once I had a chance to chat with a guy from Saudi Arabia, but he is living now in the USA. So he told me that once when he was in a bus, there was a man who noticed maybe his appearance, and he thought that he was Arabic. So the man made a sign, I think, with his hand, like it was a gun. His hand.
Oh.
So, yeah, something like that. So he felt very sad because of that.
Yes.
And I think that this had to do with the problem, the 11, how do you say, the 19, no.
9/11?
9/11, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9/11,
Because of
yes.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And Hitchhiker, are you there?
I'm here.
What do you think? Is there still racial discrimination in the U.S.?
I have not any idea. I can only read it.
Oh, you can read it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Andre, how about you? Do you think there's still racial discrimination in the United States?
In my opinion, before the racial discrimination, it's bigger. But nowadays, the people change their mind. In the Obama's election, it's a big example, in my opinion, that
Yeah.
the people change their mind.
Yeah.
Their mind.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of evolutionary process, in my opinion.
Yes.
Every year, the people pass by a lot of situations, and we need to change our mind, I think.
Yes. Okay, great, thank you. Ahmed, how about you? What do you think?
Right now, actually, I think it not became like before. It's still, but not became like before. Before it was based on color. So
Yeah.
from color, you can discriminate against this people or this group. But
Yeah.
right now, it's became for another kind of discriminate against, like religion, which is not clearly. It can't appear this guy is Christian or Jewish or Muslim.
Yeah.
So it's still. We hope it will gone or
Yes. So you're saying that it's not as apparent nowadays because they're not segregated and everything, so it's more subtle. Would you agree with that?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Good. Let's go down to this next part so everybody gets a chance to do a little bit more practice with their reading before we end the class. Today, like I mentioned before, is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it is also the day that the President Obama is starting to be inaugurated into his new term. So he has 4 more years as President of the United States, and when he takes the oath, that means when he promises that he's going to uphold the Constitution of the United States, that means he's being inaugurated. So that ceremony happened earlier this morning. And so here we have a little article that I took from the HuffingtonPost.com, and we're going to take turns reading so you guys get a little bit more prayer. Okay, so Ahmed, why don't you go ahead and start reading the first paragraph there about this.
Okay.
Can you give the link?
It's the same one. It's just scroll down a little bit further on that doc. So I'll give it again. And it's just right after the questions for the first article.
The nation is honoring civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. today. The same day is celebrating the
inauguration
of the first black president to his second term. The quirk in the calendar pushed President Barack Obama public swearing in the Washington onto the national holiday honoring the slain civil rights leader.
Okay, great, wonderful. And the next paragraph, how about Andre, you want to read that?
Yes. In Atlanta, an annual commemorative service was held at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where King preached. The Reverend Samuel Rodriguez, president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, was the keynote speaker, making the first time a Latino leader served in the role.
Yeah, should say making it the first time. Okay,
Yes.
Julissa.
Bernice King, the youngest daughter of the slain civil rights leader, also addressed the crowd. She stressed her father's legacy of peace and nonviolence, describing how he calmed an angry crowd when their home in Montgomery, Alabama was bombed. Her father stood on the porch and urged the crowd to fight not with guns but with Christian love, an act his daughter called one of the bravest experiences of gun control that we've ever heard of in the history of our nation.
Okay, good. And Landon, how about you read these two ones here?
Okay. In Washington, several dozen people took turns Monday morning taking pictures with the statue of King before heading to the National Mall, about a 15-minute walk away. Nicole Haley, 34, had driven with her family from Monroe, North Carolina, a 6-hour trip that day started at midnight. Haley attended Obama's first inauguration 4 years ago and was carrying her metro ticket from that day, a commemorative one with the president's face printed on it. She said her family made a point of coming to the memorial before staking out a spot for the ceremony. It's Martin Luther King's special day, she said. We're just celebrating freedom.
Good. Okay, Mahar, you want to read that?
Okay. John Barton, 61, and his wife Brooke Stephens, 59, of Roanoke, Virginia.
Yep.
Virginia had knocked on doors to get out the vote for Obama. On Monday, they too were at the memorial before heading to the mall. When you grew up in the 60s, his means a lot, Stephen said.
Yes. Okay, and Martin, how about you read that?
Yes, in Memphis, that's one?
Memphis.
In Memphis, Tennessee, some mark the day with a visit to the National Civil Rights Museum, built on the site of the old Lorraine Motel, where Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated April 4, 1968.
Okay, good. And Nina, you want to read the next one?
Okay. Wilbur Cole, a 52-year-old postman from Germantown, said the inauguration at the recognition of the King holidays, especially in Memphis. King and Obama, he said, are the great men of this era.
Okay, great. And Zahra, the last paragraph here.
Okay. Josie Oliver said she came to the museum Monday to enjoy a slice of history and that the inauguration sheds more light on the King holiday and his legacy. This is the dream that Dr. King talked about in his speech. Olivier said, "We see history in the making. This is the second term for Black president. This is something he spoke about, that all races come together as one."
Okay, good. So, this, if anybody's interested, this is the link to the article where that I got it from the Huffington Post. And also, if you are interested and you have time, here's the link to the video of President Obama giving his speech on YouTube, and then this link right here is the link to the transcript. So if you want, you can listen to him give his speech and then read along with it at this post right there. So I left those there for you guys if you're interested in doing that sometime later. Okay, we have about 10 minutes, and I want to go back over the reading to make sure people understood. There were quite a few big words in here. So I want to just make sure that everybody understood the basics of this article. Okay? All right, so let's see. Thank you, Andre. You like the class? Okay. All right, so the nation is honoring civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. today, the same day it celebrates the inauguration of the first black president to his second term. A quirk, so that might be a new word for people, a quirk in the calendar pushed President Barack Obama's public swearing in Washington onto the national holiday honoring the slain civil rights leader. Okay, so in this context here, what do you think the word quirk means? A quirk in the calendar.
It's a wrong.
Something wrong?
Yes.
Yeah.
Equivoque.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like a little hiccup or something that's kind of weird that happened. It's just a little quirky thing that happens. A weird thing. It doesn't usually happen. So usually the president is not sworn in on the same day that we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but it just so happened the way the days fall. So it's a quirk. And what do you guys understand by the public swearing in? What would the swearing in mean?
Like accepting the charge.
Uh-huh. So swearing in is where he takes an oath. That means he puts his hand on the Bible and he says, I promise to...
I promise to respect.
Yeah, that. And if you watch it, you'll see that happening, and that's called a swearing in. So the swearing in can happen to anybody who's taking a government position, like a judge or a police officer or something like that. It's where they swear, and to swear also means to promise.
In the judgment too.
Yes.
I promise you to say the truth, only the truth.
Right, yeah, that's where you swear in. If you're before the judge and you're in a court, you have to promise to tell the truth. Okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And Julissa, do you understand the word slain? That word, what do you think that means? Slain civil rights leader.
Murder.
I don't know.
Okay. Andre
Murder.
told us. It means murdered. So they are honoring the... Murdered would sound very weird if you write that. So there's a different word, slain, but it means the same thing. A person who has been killed. So that's how they're describing him, the slain civil rights leader. So that would tell you that he's not alive anymore. So that's how you would know if you're reading that he's dead. Okay. In Atlanta, an annual, so that means every year, commemorative. Commemorate something means to remember. So a remembering service, you could say, commemorative service, was held at the Ebenezer Baptist Church where King preached. So does everybody... Oops. What happened there? Okay. Where they preached. Everybody understand the preach? That's what ministers do. So since he's a minister, he preaches. Yeah. He talks. Yeah. Okay, good. And let's see, the reverend, that's an abbreviation right here for reverend, which is another term for minister. Samuel Rodriguez, the president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, was the keynote speaker. So he was... Keynote just means main, or like the important person, the main person who's giving the speech.
Special guest?
Yes, special guest. And marking it the first time a Latino leader served in the role. Okay, so you probably understand all that. Bernice King, the youngest daughter, here we go again, of the slain civil rights leader, also addressed the crowd. What does it mean to address the crowd?
To speak to the crowd.
Assassinated.
Yes. To address means to speak.
To conduct.
Well, it means to, in this sense, it means that she spoke to the crowd. So she gave some words, and she stressed, so that word means emphasize. She emphasized her father's legacy of peace and nonviolence, describing how he calmed an armed, angry crowd when their home in Montgomery, Alabama was bombed. Okay, so does everybody know the word legacy?
No, I don't know.
Yes. Then, so
like the heritage he lived.
It's kind of like his story. So it's like your story. So he had a big story about peace and nonviolence. And what would it mean if we're talking about an armed crowd? What does that mean?
People with gun.
Yes, people with guns. So if you're armed, that means you have a gun. Okay? You have arms. Not your arms like the ones you have at your side on your body, but the guns. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, her father stood on the porch and urged, so that means he was talking to them very seriously and urged them, wanted the crowd to fight not with guns but with Christian love, an act his daughter called one of the bravest experiences of gun control that we've ever heard of in the history of our nation. Did you guys understand the word bravest? To be, what does it mean to be brave?
Very brave.
Braver.
The strongest.
Superlative degree.
Yeah.
Bravery.
Valiente.
Yeah. So another word for brave is like courageous. So he's courageous, strong. Yeah. Okay. In Washington, several dozen people took turns Monday morning taking pictures with the statue of King before heading to the National Mall. So the National Mall, if you type that in Google and you go to images, you'll be able to see what that is. That's a monument in Washington, D.C. Okay? And Nicole Haley, 34, had driven with her family from Monroe, North Carolina, a 6-hour trip that they started at midnight. Haley attended Obama's first inauguration 4 years ago and was carrying her Metro ticket, so that's the ticket to the subway, from that day. A commemorative one so it's a commemorative ticket, so it's kind of a collector thing, something you would keep and collect, because it had the president's face printed on it. So that's why she wanted to keep it. She said her family made a point. What does that mean? Made a point of coming to the memorial.
To agree?
What if it's, nope. To make a point of something. What is that? Does anybody know what that means? That's one of those phrasal verbs.
Indicated.
It's a kind of a mark.
Okay. It means that they make sure that they do it. So they decide to do it, and then they have to make sure that they go and do it. So they make a point of doing it. So it's something special. Yeah, something special to do. Okay, like if you want to make a point, if you're studying English and you say, I want to make a point of practicing 15 minutes every day, then that means it's important to you and you're going to decide to do that. You make a decision to do that. Okay, let's see. We'll keep going through here. I think you know that. Okay, assassinated. Recognition. Here we go. Wilbur Cole, a 52-year-old postman from Germantown, said the inauguration adds to the recognition of the King holiday. What does that mean? Recognition.
Note.
To note, yeah, to note or to
realize it.
Realize, to like to understand, some to accept it.
Awareness.
A kind of compliment, no?
It's when you the verb is to recognize. So when you recognize something, that means you acknowledge it. You say, yes, I agree with it, or I see it. Yeah, so they're recognizing it as an important holiday. Because in the beginning, when they made the holiday, not everybody wanted to have the holiday, but now more and more people respect this as a holiday. Okay? And here we have Joyce Oliver, said she came to the museum Monday to enjoy a slice of history. So that just means like a piece of history or a time period, an era in history. And that the inauguration sheds more light on the King holiday and his legacy. So to shed light on something, what does that mean?
Sheds more light.
Shed more light.
Like that it gives more importance.
Yeah, that's right.
Big event.
Highlight.
A highlight, right, exactly. So you highlight something, it makes it more important. So the shedding the light on it. And this is the dream that Dr. King talked about in his speech. Oliver said, we see history in the making. So they're making history today. This is the second term for a black president. This is something he spoke about, that all races come together as one. Okay. And with that, we have to end the class because it's now 3 o'clock my time. So I want to thank everybody. No. I want to thank everybody for coming to the class. If you want to do another Verbling class today, sometime, there's one coming up. I think every hour there should be one. So I'm not the only teacher. There's lots of great teachers on Verbling. So go check them out and see what you can learn and what you can practice today in English. You guys did a great job. It's a lot of work. If you were in both of my classes, those were 2 really good intermediate to advanced classes, and you guys did a great job. Okay?
Thank you,
Thank
Lisa.
you, Lisa.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye, teacher.
All right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.